Good morning, everyone. For worship from our old ship meeting house. It's so good to see you arrayed on my screen, and I expect you are appreciating seeing one another. Good morning and welcome. We begin as we do each week with a chime, and then with our prelude from Chris, which is the Song of Youth by Agatha Grendel this morning. We begin with a chime and music. Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. Our call to worship this morning will be offered by our guest preacher, Reverend Mary Margaret Earle. Mary Margaret is the Executive Director and Senior Minister at our Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. Mary Margaret, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Let us embrace this day. Life flows swiftly. Let us not wish away the season, waiting for another better. The trees bare and gesturing to sky, everything revealed and open. This separation, which reminds us how much we need and love one another. This strange time, which has taught us new ways of doing things and reminds us of our ingenuity and the ever-present power of creativity. The chill which pulls our arms around us and transforms breath into artful designs in the air, the pain and the challenge and the hope and everything which testifies that we are alive. We are alive. Let us embrace this day. Life flows swiftly. Let us not wish away this season, waiting for another better. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Mary Margaret. And our introit, Heather Nolasco, Where Love and Justice Combine. Heather.
Where love and justice combine, where love and justice combine, God has welcomed us home, oh beloved of mine. May we dwell there, where love and justice combine. Where love and justice combine, God has welcomed us home. May we never be moved.
Thank you. Words for our chalice lighting this morning will be offered by Mary and Garrison Wilkes. Thank you so much, Mary and Garrison.
Good morning.
We'd like to light the chalice for all children who have lost their grandparents.
Thank you. And that is many. We light the chalice for those grieving children and others, the chalice of our faith. Now we sing together. If you have a hymn book, it is number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Perhaps some of you have downloaded the hymn. Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, number 126. Well, good morning again, and welcome to worship from our Old Ship Meeting House. Welcome to those many of you who've been worshiping here at Old Ship for many years. Welcome to those of you who may be new among us. If you are new and would like to learn more about us, or if you're an old timer and want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, oldshipchurch.org. Our fellowship hour, as always, continues on this same Zoom link right now. And today, it will be a forum to have conversation about our Unitarian Universalist urban ministry, to learn more about UU urban ministry and how we might participate with their programs, which are right in Boston, in Roxbury. So please stick around if you're able right after our worship service. Here end this morning's announcements. And I'm pleased to introduce, as most weeks, our interim director of religious education, Chloe Brede, for our time for all ages. Chloe.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all today. Noah was an old man who loved to dance and sing and to make things with his hands. He especially loved to make mud pies. Noah loved to do these things because he felt closest to the Creator when he was being creative himself. All the people in Noah's village thought he was a fool. Why do you waste time singing and dancing and making mud pies? They asked. And Noah responded, because it gives me joy. One day, the people saw Noah doing something even stranger than usual. He was building an ark. Noah, why do you waste your time building an ark when there's no water for miles around? Noah responded, because it gives me joy. On another day, people saw Noah collecting 2 of every kind of animal and putting them on the ark. They thought Noah had really lost his marbles this time. Noah, why do you waste time collecting 2 of every kind of animal? And once again, Noah said, because it gives me joy. Finally, one day it started to rain. Noah gathered his family together and they all got on board the ark. It rained so hard and for so long that the whole earth was covered in water. As Noah looked out the window of the ark, one of his children came and stood beside him. Dad, did you know this flood was coming? The little girl asked her father. Noah was quiet for a moment. And then he said, not exactly, but I have this theory about life. Life can get pretty tough. Sometimes it can be hard to make it through the day. But if you can do something creative, then you will know joy. Rain can fall down, floodwaters can rise, but the things that give you joy will make sure you are prepared and it will help keep you afloat. Just like his ark, perhaps made of mud. Thank you, everyone. That was a story by the Reverend Chris Spice from the UU Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. Have a good morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chloe, for that wonderful retelling of the story we all thought we knew, of fresh and beautiful nuance and spirit. Thank you. Come to our time of sharing joys, sorrows, and concerns and lighting candles for those. 2 of you have shared something that for which you'd like a candle lit. Others of you may wish to enter into chat, a joy, a sorrow, or a concern, or certainly to hold anything in your hearts that you're thinking of, being mindful of, being heartful of this morning as we light our candles. The 2 that have been in touch with me, first, Derek Wadman. He says, would you be kind enough to light a candle for a dear friend of 47 years who passed away after a long illness, Nicholas Gagliardo of Long Island. Derek says he was the first friend I made when I came to America. He is survived by his wife, Sandra, and family. So we send prayers, certainly to Sandra and her family and to all of Nicholas's dear friends, including Derek. Deb Squires Lee has asked for a candle for her brother, Patrick Squires, and all of his and their family. Patrick had a heart transplant last night. It was successful. It was out at the Utah Medical Center, an extraordinary facility, Deb tells me. A successful heart transplant for Patrick. So we send our prayers for his healing. May it be smooth, and may we send prayers for health for many, many years to come. So for these and for others in chat or unspoken, I light our candles this morning. May we join our hearts and minds in the spirit of meditation, prayer, and then shared silence. Breathing into this time, this gathering, breathing with gratitude for this time, this day given us, this gathering of which we are a part. If we are joyful this morning, may we feel the fullness of that joy, and it might be shared. If we are weary this morning, may we allow the weariness to be, allow ourselves to be where we are, who we are, knowing we are held by one another, whatever distance might separate us, held in community with love. And from this deep sense of presence, the yearnings of our hearts grow, our prayers grow. In a world of too much suffering, as we pray, may we remember that though our hands are but two, our love is without bounds. In this spirit, we send prayers for courageous protesters wherever they are this day, this season, those seeking justice, freedom, equality, whether in Myanmar, those courageous young people, or in Hong Kong, or in the streets of American cities and towns. And we share continued prayers for all the helpers and healers among us, for healthcare professionals, grocery clerks, teachers, for everyone doing their best to keep on, to serve, to help, simply to survive. Prayers for those caught in the vice of centuries of inequities. And prayers for those who grieve, for those who are ill, prayers for one another, knowing that we all are holding something, and often more than something, in our hearts and lives. Prayers for one another with love. May we resolve to continue to share our love, our kindness, our gifts. As our meditations and prayers continue in shared silence. Our anthem this morning will be sung by Katie Weintraub. She'll be singing I Lift My Voice by Andrea Ramsey. Katie.
When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When I lift my voice, let it be for good. Let me care as much as I know I should. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. I lift my voice. I lift my voice.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Beautiful. A reading this morning will be shared by Dennis Hogan. So, Dennis.
Our reading this morning consists of selections from the Black theologian Howard Thurman, who lived from 1899 to 1981. Inherent in life is meaning. There is a quality, independent of the way in which outside forces may operate upon life. The life in the seed bursts forth in root and stalk and fruit. The whole process takes place within. Many forces may operate upon it from without, cramping the roots, making the shape of the stalk into a caricature of itself. But always, with whatever life there is, the built-in purpose is never given up. Concerning the meaning, there is no doubt, wherever life appears. This is the integrity of life. It is the commitment of life. This is the singular characteristic of all aliveness. This is the miracle. In these words, listen to the long stillness. New life is stirring. New dreams are on the wing. New hopes are being readied. Humankind is fashioning a new heart. Humankind is forging a new mind. God is at work. This is the season of promise. Here ends the reading.
Thank you, Dennis, for channeling Howard Thurman. We come to our time of offering. As each week, we have the opportunity to give through our plate collection, online of course, to the ongoing various ministries of our congregation. We also have the opportunity, either or both, the opportunity to give to our monthly outreach collection. This month, beginning today, and we'll hear more about it in a couple of weeks from John Belber from Holly Hill Farm. This month, the collection will go to Holly Hill Farm, which is in Cohasset, specifically to their programs that produce fresh and healthy food for local food pantries. It's called their Farm to Food Pantry program. More important than ever in these challenging times when food for some is all too scarce and healthy food often even more scarce. So again, you can find ways to donate on our website. Go to the donate link and the pull down menu will give you the opportunities for our ongoing ministries or for the special collection, Holly Hill Farm. Our offertory from Christopher, Like a Mighty Stream, by John Jacobson and Moses Hogan, Like a Mighty Stream. Our offering will now be given and received.
Lift every voice and let us sing in like a mighty stream, like a mighty stream, like a mighty stream. Let justice roll, let justice roll, let justice roll, like a mighty stream. Oh, every trial we'll overcome when every child beneath the sun and every soul shall live as one. The noble dream has just begun. Like a mighty stream, like a mighty stream, let justice roll, let justice roll, let justice roll, like a mighty stream.
Beautiful, Christopher. Love that. I know you and I have talked, that's one of the choir's favorite pieces also, and we look forward sometime later this year, we sure hope, to hearing the choir along with you sing that as well. Thanks so much. It is a pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Mary Margaret Earl, who is, as we said earlier, the senior minister and executive director of our Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry headquartered in Roxbury here in Boston. The Urban Ministry, we'll learn more about it at our forum later on. You can go on their website, uuum.org, but among other things, offers various programs for at-risk youth and others, a shelter for families who are leaving situations of abuse. It is vital and important work, and we are grateful that under Reverend Mary Margaret Earl's leadership these past 6 years, and the history of the organization goes back over 100 years, that this work continues. And we've been privileged to be among those who every year, through various collections, help along in our modest way with this work. So, Mary Margaret, thank you for being with us this morning. Once again, you have graced our meeting house before, and now virtually you are gracing it once again. Welcome.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning, my old ship friends. It is good to be with you. I have, as Ken said, come to visit with you several times since my first preaching season at the UU Urban Ministry, and Reverend Ken was one of the first ministers who I met with upon my arrival. I miss parking on the street and walking up that drive into your historic meeting house. I miss seeing you all assembled in your historic space. But this is a way to connect, so I'll take it. So first, I want to thank again my good colleague, Ken, for so warmly welcoming me back this morning. It is good to lead worship with him. Old Ship has been a great friend to the UU Urban Ministry in so many ways through the years. Years ago, I hear stories of Old Ship families would travel by bus or van into Roxbury for work days on our campus. And in the last few years, a small group from Old Ship has come to support food distribution by our partner, Fair Foods, on our green space. You've given generously to our Renewal House shelter every year during your Christmas Eve service, and recently you gave another generous collection to support our work. Thank you. Among the supporters and the champions of our work at Old Ship are Eva Marks, Lisa Sawyer, Daveline Cooper, Leonard and Nancy Nowak, and the LaPan family. Pam Hardy and Dave Aline are delegates to the UU Urban Ministry on behalf of Old Ship, helping friends here connect to our work in Roxbury. Thank you for all the ways you engage in the work of the UU Urban Ministry as a congregation and by individuals. I come here this morning grateful. For those of you less familiar with the UU Urban Ministry, we are a 190-year-old Boston-based nonprofit. We have about 50 member congregations around Greater Boston, like Old Ship. Over those nearly 2 centuries, we've done many things. We've founded an Asian appropriate food pantry, built elder housing, run a free legal clinic. In 2021, we do 3 basic things. 1, we serve survivors of domestic violence at our Renewal House shelter, which you support, and we offer a job readiness program for survivors from across Greater Boston. We provide tutoring and after-school programming to Boston high school students of color seeking to level the educational playing field and assist with college applications. And we teach young people an appreciation for history and use the historic campus that we inherited in Roxbury as a living classroom to give historic walking tours. And we engage the Roxbury community, especially through the arts and humanities and through partnerships in the neighborhood. I thank Old Ship for engaging in the work of the UU Urban Ministry in the past and now, and as we look to the future. And the future, my friends, beckons. We have traveled into 2021 and its hopes, but the shadows of 2020 remain. Our country had entered 2020 awash in anger and division, divided on the most basic of things like science. Late last winter, the pandemic befell us, and in the spring, we were jolted by the casual police killing of George Floyd, stunned to see 400 years of racism distilled into 8 interminable minutes. Last summer, we witnessed the Black Lives Matter uprising in the streets and on our town commons. We entered this year witnessing again the ongoing division with January's rioting in Washington, D.C. White people have been confronted squarely by the legacy of enslavement. For these past several years, truths long shrouded have been revealed. Racism no longer dwelled only in the interpretation of health and wealth and educational disparities. Facts like the net worth, what we own after we deduct our debts. The net worth for white households in Boston is $247,000, and for Black families, it is $8. Facts like the average lifespan in Roxbury is 30 years less than it is 1 mile away in the white neighborhood of Back Bay. Facts like African-American adults are 6 times as likely to be incarcerated as whites. Racism and white supremacy became even plainer than those numbers. White supremacists marched proudly, stepping out of the mist. Racist ideas and attitudes were shouted into the open air for all of us to hear. On January 6th, we watched the Confederate flag waved in our Capitol proudly, and it has shaken and sobered us. The truth of our country's history, the legacy of enslavement that lives in all our institutions and also within us, emerged from the shadows. And the gift is this: what we can see, we can actually do something about. This is the moment we are called to. This is a moment when we, as a faith community, have an uncommon potential to help give birth to something new. The beginning of a new year did not mark the end of a struggle, but a new and hopeful chapter in this struggle. The work before us to heal racism will be the outward-facing work of petition and protest and marches and mobilizing, but it also must be the work inward, the work within ourselves. The journey inward to facing our own racism is hard work and essential work. This morning, I wanted to walk with you on that journey, the journey that I've been on since arriving at the Urban Ministry 6 years ago. I arrived in Roxbury after a decade working in the homeless community in Providence, Rhode Island. I came ready to work with domestic violence survivors and to support young people. But when I arrived, I learned quickly that there was more to our organization than our list of programs. We stood at the intersection between communities, rooted in the historic heart of Boston's Black community that had experienced and borne witness to the city's legacy of racism, and encircled by white suburban UU congregations being awakened to that legacy. Standing at that intersection meant reckoning with racism. But I didn't come to the urban ministry to talk about racism. I wasn't ready for it. And on one of my first days at the urban ministry, the police officers in Ferguson, Missouri, who had killed Michael Brown, an unarmed African-American man, were not indicted. This moment propelled the Black Lives Matter movement into the national consciousness. And the urban ministry staff came to me and asked me to make a public statement. I didn't know what to say. I was afraid to talk about racism. That day was the beginning of a new leg of my journey, not just my outward journey for justice, but also my inward journey. And this morning, I share 3 lessons that I'm learning on the way. First, the spiritual journey of dismantling racism, work that we are all called to do, asks us to tolerate discomfort and pain. The pain of learning the real history of race in America, the pain of learning the ways it privileges white people, the pain of facing those health and wealth and educational disparities. Robin DiAngelo, in her book, White Fragility, writes this: race will influence whether we will survive our birth, where we are most likely to live, which schools we will attend, who our friends and partners will be, what careers we will have, how much money we will earn, how healthy we will be, and even how long we can expect to live, she wrote. DiAngelo, who is white, spent years as a diversity and inclusion trainer and saw over and again white people, and especially those who saw themselves as progressive, as so defensive about witnessing white supremacy that their defensiveness protected the systems that perpetuate it. A step on our journey is laying down our defenses, to become aware when our shoulders tighten and we get ready to say, but wait, not me. A step on our journey is to keep opening, waiting, breathing. A step on our journey is the practice of stillness. We heard Black theologian Howard Thurman write, listen to the long stillness. New life is stirring. New dreams are on the wing. New hopes are being readied. Humankind is fashioning a new heart. Humankind is forging a new mind. God is at work. This is the season of promise, he wrote. When we still our defenses, something new may emerge. A second lesson on my journey, and this is so hard, is letting go of goodness. Our task is not to seem good. It's paying attention. It's looking at what needs to be witnessed. In White Fragility, DiAngelo describes that our biggest hurdle as white people in addressing racism is white intolerance to thinking that we participate in the systems that uphold racism, in seeing how those systems benefit us. She writes, I could see the power of the belief that only bad people were racist. I could see how we are taught to think about racism as only discrete acts committed by individual people, rather than as a complex, interconnected system. She wrote, if it became clear that if I believe only bad people who intended to hurt others because of race could ever do so, then I would respond with outrage to any suggestion that I was involved in racism. She wrote, of course, that belief would make me feel falsely accused of something terrible. And of course, I would want to defend my own character, she wrote. When we protect our sense of being good at the expense of seeing truth, we risk doing more harm. None of us created the world into which we were born. We were born into a nation that was built upon enslavement. Our modern police forces were born of slave patrols whose charge was capturing fleeing slaves. Our founding fathers enslaved people even while writing the Declaration of Independence. It would be impossible to imagine that we did not inhale racism like a villager living by the smokestacks inhales pollution. When we protect our goodness, instead of examining our contribution to racism and white supremacy, we uphold it. We need to trust. We are beloved. That is guaranteed and non-negotiable. And then we need to face what is. My third lesson is that working towards justice is not just toil. There is joy in the journey, joy in meeting sisters and brothers working alongside us, joy in meeting new people across differences. In the past 6 years, I have had 1,000 hard and challenging moments, awkward moments, unsettling moments that I needed to breathe and listen my way through. But I have met the most wonderful people along the way. That's how this work is. We don't move alone. We build up our human family as we go. I have met white allies who modeled humility and taught me to follow Black leaders. I have met Black leaders who have spoken truth and shown grace and generosity and forgiveness. I have listened to Black elders sharing stories of the Boston of their childhoods. And I have sat at the table with people building up the sisterhood and brotherhood of the human family and laughed and broken bread and knew this is beautiful and blessed work. This is a joy. No matter how hard and uncomfortable, it is the work worth doing. In her book, Healing Zen, author Ellen Burks, a nurse who works with ill patients, described the work of caregivers for those who are sick. She writes this: healing work is not only physical and psychological, it is also spiritual. Spirituality, she wrote, opens you to the mystery and wonder of life and fills you with energy and vitality. Spirituality results in a deep sense of connection with all people, all creatures, and the earth. Spiritual development manifests in love and compassionate action, she wrote. She was writing of the work of healing patients who are sick. We are tasked with healing a country that is sick. And we begin here. When we pick up the work of the world, when we are willing to climb the mountain towards justice one step at a time, when we are willing to engage and do the work outwardly and inwardly, we infuse our lives with our true meaning. I invite you to join us at the Urban Ministry as we continue to pick up that work with your help. Join us this Tuesday for a virtual panel on Henry Hampton, who produced the civil rights series Eyes on the Prize while living in Roxbury, and who actually worked for the Unitarian Universalist Association. Learn about our Roxbury Artist Amplification Project, which invites congregations to showcase Black artists. Join our mailing list for ways to partner with us in partnering with Roxbury. New life is stirring, Howard Thurman wrote. New dreams are on the wing, new hopes are being readied. Humankind is fashioning a new heart. Humankind is forging a new mind. God is at work. This is the season of promise. And may it be so. And amen.
May it be so indeed, and amen, and blessed be. Thank you. Thank you so much. The conversation will continue during our fellowship time forum with Mary Margaret to learn yet more about urban ministry and how we might participate in the work, as we've heard. I will extinguish the flames lit with love, flames representing joys, sorrows, and concerns. I will extinguish the flame of our chalice, our faith, representing our faith in justice, in truth, in love. But I cannot extinguish the love, faith, these we carry with us wherever we go. We are invited to sing once again. Some of you may know this without even opening a hymn book or downloading. Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in your hymn book, if you like. Love will guide us. Benediction to send us forth, Mary Margaret.
We enter this time shaken and sobered, witnessing what has been revealed, the racism embedded in our institutions and the racism that dwells within us. This is the challenge. This is the gift. This is the call to face what is and to live into our potential as people and as a faith to make change that is deep and transformational and enduring. Go in courage and faith.
I dream of a world where everyone is welcome. I dream of a place we all can call home. I dream of a world where justice is flowing, with hope and peace growing, where love's work is done. Make it so, make it so. We long dream of a world where peace reigns among us and love's work is done. May we make it so.
Siahamba, Siahamba, Song of Freedom from South Africa, freedom that all deserve and that we seek for all. May peace be with you this day and all days. May it be so.